morning to everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about Python data types. Let's enter into the contents. We all know that the importance of a data type in a programming language. So here, in case of programming language, we have basic data type supports. For example, if you go for C programming, we have foundation data types, right? Three basic foundation data types: integer, character, and integer, character, and float, right? These three are basic data types in C programming. And if you take the derived data types from of C programming, we go for structures, we have arrays, and we have union, right? So lots of derived data types exist, which is acting as a derived data type from foundation data types like integer, float, and character. So always the data structure, right? Data types are almost like a arrangement of data, right? We all know that the importance of a data structure in retrieving of information. So the ultimate aim of a data structure is retrieval of information as fast as possible, right? So we always think of data structure when we go for larger amount of content when we deal with, right? So if you have 10 numbers, 15 numbers, we don't need a data structure for accessing the information, right? Whereas if you deal with millions of records, where we need to always have a concern about how your data are getting arranged so that your data can be retrieved as fast as possible, right? So that is the ultimate aim of a need of a data structure. So always there is a need for data type also, right? How your data are going to be deal with the programming languages, right? So in programming language, so data type is a most important concept, and variables can store data of different types, and different types can do different things, right? So Python has following data type supports, right? So if you take foundation of Python programming data types, we have string data type, we have integer, we have float, we have complex, but we don't have support for character data type, right? So we don't have support for character data type, but instead we have string data type, right? And sequence types, list, tuple, range, and dictionaries type, and we have other types which are all derived data types of this foundation data types, right? Let's see one by one so that we'll get into how it is going to work with programming languages of Python, right? So let's see. And in the previous video we have seen, I think let's see how your functionality of basic data types works, right? So we all know that here let's take a equal to 5, let's take a equal to 10, and I'm going to have a you can have a function. You already know that there is a function called type, which returns what type of data type it is, right? So it is assigning the type according to the value that is assigned to that particular variable, right? So for example, if you assigning your value with an integer value, here a is a variable, and because in the C programming we always have a declaration, right? Here, but in case of Python we don't have the declaration, right? So declaration, what is the ultimate aim of a declaration in C programming is it defines what type of a data it is going to hold, right? Whereas in case of Python programming it is not, right? So we don't have such type of declaration statement, right? We define the values, and based on the definition of a value, so it will take the respective type, right? So since a is assigned with value of 10, so it has taken it as an integer type, right? For example, if I am replacing it with 10.23, and if I print, this type is a function which is going to return what type of a value that has interpreted, right? So it is a float type, right? So immediately it will be changed to the next type, right? And if you take the same and you can replace the value of a with integer, then if you try to print using the type function, so type of a, so it will print it as a string, right? So based on the assignment of the value, the variable type will be decided, right? So these are basic three data types, right? And when we go for list data type, it's a new supportive data type in case of Python. So in the C programming we have arrays, structure, union, all those are collection of different items. So array is nothing but a collection of similar items, whereas a structure is a collection of different data items, right? So this list is almost similar to the functionality of array in structure, right? So because in case of array we have a collection of similar data items, in case of structure it is a collection of different data items. So let's come as per the functionality, this list is almost close to array and also structure, right? Let's see. List is a ordered sequence of items. It is one of the most used data type in Python, and it is very useful, very flexible, right? All the items in the list do not need to be do not need to be of the same type, right? So in terms of collecting items, so it is similar to array and also structure, but in case of collecting different items, it is almost similar to structure functionality, right? Because both array and also structure is a collection of items. So as per that factor, so it is similar to both array and structure, but collecting different items, which means it is relating to the functionality of a structure, right? So a list is almost close to functionality of a structure in case of C programming, right? So list is a ordered sequence of items, so which is collecting different data items, right? So let's say in case of ideally, right? So list can be, we don't have proper syntax for defining how your list is going to be declared, right? So instead, let's take data is a list. Let's assume that data is a list. Here list can be defined by using only braces, right? Which means brackets, right? So here square bracket, so we have 3 bracket supports. In case of your keyboard, if you take 3 brackets, one is close, that is a curvy bracket, right? So and another one is a square bracket, and third one is curly braces, right? So each is defining 3 different data types, right? So if you take square bracket, it defines it is a list, right? And if you take the curvy bracket, so it defines it is a tuple, right? We have one more data type support in case of Python, that is a tuple. And if you have curly braces, that is nothing but a set, right? So 3 different data types we have support in case of Python. So now we are going to define a list. So here square bracket defines it as a list, right? So list, as I said, it is a collection of items, but it is of different data items, not necessarily of a same data item, right? So which means it should not be a collection of numbers. No, it should not be a collection of strings. It should not be a collection of float values, right? So mixture of values permitted, right? Let's take one RAM, and you can have let's take 5.11 is my height, and my weight is 82, right? So okay, so that's what the content of list, right? Fine. So if you check for the type of data, right? So type always defines what type of data it is. So it will print it as a list, right? So square bracket indicates that it's a list, right? As I already said. So what is the value that is assigning to that particular variable, right? So that defines what type of a data it is, right? So since it is defined it as a square bracket, it is taking it as a list, right? And you have supportive functions also, right? Let's take data dot. So if you press control space bar, so it will show a lot of functions, right? So which defines that list can support for list is supporting for mutable case, right? Which means list is permitted to update, right? List values are permitted to update, right? You can change the values also, right? So if I want to change any of the value in the list, yes, it is permitted since it is mutable, right? So here in case of here in this PDF also I am saying that. So here let's take it is a collection of numbers, and this is nothing but a slice, right? So for printing those values, okay, let's see. Let's go for print of, as like your indexing, right? So you can also print let's take data of always know that list starts with the index of 0. Data of 0 prints 1, and if I want to print data of 0:3, right? If I give like this, so it will print so you will have range also, right? So the first index, that should be, the index should be separated by colon, and the lowest value, it starts with the lowest index and it goes up to the highest index, right? So here 0 is the lowest index and 3 is the highest index, right? So you can use that indexing also, right? So for accessing the element of your list, and it is permitted to change the values of the list. So let's take data of 0 equal to 1, right? Okay, 2, right? So it is permitted, and if you try to print okay, directly you can give data of 1, right? Data of 0, so it will print 2, right? So if I print the entire data, right, if I print entire data, yes, the value has been updated, right? So 2 RAM 5.11 and 82, right? So this is what the list data type is, right? So here accessing can be done through indexing, right? And indexing have a higher range and lower range also, that can be also permitted, and this is also permitted, which means for example, right from 5th index to the last index it will go, right? I don't have I no need to define the last index also, right? It can be till the last, right? Which means it is a last, right? So and the list is also mutable, as I said, so you can update the values of your list. Next is tuple, right? So here tuple is also similar functionality as like list, right? Tuple is a ordered sequence of items, same as list. The only difference is that the tuples are immutable, because we always know that. So there is a for example, if it is of a project and there are some information that should not be changed, right? So let's take any for example, if you are developing a software for any of the organization, there are some cases where the employee information should not be changed, right? So in such cases we can go for this tuple data type, right? So it is immutable data type, and tuples once created cannot be modified, right? So it is write protected, used to write protect data, and usually faster than list, as they cannot change dynamically, right? It is in case of accessing, your tuples are faster when compared to list, right? So as I already said, the curly bracket is used to is used for defining a tuple, right? So as I said, the 3 brackets will define each data type, right? Square brackets define it as a list, and curly brackets define it as a tuple, and that is curly braces defines it as a set, right? So based on the value what you are assigning to that variable, so it defines what type it is, right? So here that curly bracket defines it as a tuple, right? So let's go for some examples in IDLE. Okay, let's take I am defining a variable and I am using the curly bracket. So okay, let's take 15 departments are there, and overall college rank is 43 in India, right? Okay, so this is a tuple, right? So here you can check for supporting functions through just putting a dot, and if you press control spacebar, in case of your list you can able to see multiple number of functions that are supporting for list, whereas in case of tuple you don't have support for. It has only support for 2 different functions, one is count and index, right? So that is only permitted. And if you take the similar data is nothing but the list which is already defined, and if I press you will have support for multiple number of functions like append, clear, copy, count, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, sort. All these functions are support in case of list, whereas in case of tuple, so we don't have that support, right? So dot look at only count and index is the function that is supporting for tuples, right? And if I try to change, right, as I said, because we need to test that also. So if I try to if I print, yes, it prints that tuple, and if I try to change any of the for accessing your the data item, yes, you need to use that. So I need to you need to use square bracket only, right, for accessing the data element in the tuple. And detail of 1, so already it is okay, let's take a detail of 2, right, which means 15 has to be changed to 2. Let's take 22, right. So here it is not permitted. Tuple object does not support item assignment, right. It will raise an error because tuple data elements cannot be changed, right. So that is what the tuple data structure is. So here look at if I try to change, tuple does not support any data item, right. Change of data items, right. Next one is string data type, right. String data type you have already discussed also, right. String is a sequence of Unicode characters. We can use single quotes or double quotes or triple quotes also permitted to define a string. And we have multi-line strings multi-line strings can be denoted using triple line quotes, right. And strings also mutable, right. Sorry, string also here in case of slicing characters, you can able to define your string, and you can able to access that elements using the square bracket. And here it is of immutable also, right. So if I try to change, yes, that cannot be permitted, right. Let's take we already discussed that string also, right. Multi-line strings we have defined, right. Next one is set. Set is another type of data type, right. Here we use curly braces, right, for defining for defining your set elements, right. As I said, 3 different brackets, each defines its own data type, right. So for square bracket it defines it as a list, and for curly brackets it defines it as a tuple, and curly braces defines it as a set, right. So a set is an unordered collection of unique items, right. Set is defined by values separated by comma, right, inside braces, right. So here let's take I'm going to define, let's take I'll show some examples in ideally, right. So let's take I'm creating a variable called college. I'm using curly braces and comma. I am defining some elements. Okay, let's go for integers, right. Okay, 54 3, right. Okay, now set has been defined. I'm printing college here. Let's print. Look at here there is a here when I print of college, yes, it prints the same. And if I go for example here in case of set, set cannot be set cannot be the set cannot be used for accessing, right. We don't have that access to that particular elements because set elements are subject to change, right. For example, I'm defining one more college equal to, let's take curly braces. So let's take 152, and I'm having I'm having duplicate elements in list, right. So let's take I'm having 3 1s and 2 2s, and this is the, let's take this is the set, right. And if I print college here, look at I have only the unique elements, right. So 1 2 3 and 50, right. So 3 1s are there, but it prints only 1 1, right. Set is an unordered collection of unique items, right. It is an unordered collection of unique items, right. So here unique items is the key value, right. So it may subject to change, right. The positions of set it may subject to change, right. So here for example, look at s equal to 5 10 1 8 9. So if I print yes, it will print sometimes it in the positions of the data elements in the set, it may change. That's why it doesn't support for that accessing of indexing, right. Indexing of elements, right. So if I try to access the data items of set, it will raise an error, right. Set doesn't support for indexing, right? So that is what the important point you want to note down here. And say if you test for support functions of set, look at add, clear. Yes, you can able to add elements, you can able to clear, you can able to copy elements, and there are some that is a intersection update, disjoint, subset, or other supporting functions are there, but you cannot able to index, right? So if I try to change, if I try to print any of the value in the set, so it will raise some error, right? So okay, let's go for next data type called dictionary data type. Dictionary is an unordered collection of key value pairs, right? So here it will be of a different context. So far we haven't discussed in any of the programming language. So C doesn't have that support, right? So we all know that indexing is an important thing to access any of the element in any of the collections, right? Let's take array, structure. In terms of yeah, in terms of collection of items, we have different data structures, different data types, right? We have arrays, we have union, and we have so far we have discussed list, set, tuple. All those different data items, data types will be having different characteristics by its own, but whereas dictionary data type has different characteristics. Here two information user needs to supply. One is nothing but key, another one is nothing but the value. Here the indexing in earlier collections of information, we have sequence of indexing, which is going to be a sequence number, right? So for example, if in case of array 0 1 2 3 4, that is going to be the index value. The value what you are going to store may be different, but in case of key, it is going to be key for accessing. That indexing number is going to be a sequence of information, whereas here the key value can be defined by the user, right? So there is no necessity, that there is no mandatory that the key value should be a sequence number, right? So if you take this example, right, look at, so data is an information, and here the dictionary data type has to be defined with curly braces, right? In picture, dictionaries are defined with curly braces, with each item pair being a pair in the form of key colon value. Look at, so the dictionary has the values has to be defined in such a way that, so the first value should be the key value, and followed by colon, and followed by the second value, which is nothing but the value to access that value that needs to be accessed using that key, right? So the first value, the combination, the format is first you need to define the key, and colon should be given, the value and the key should be separated by colon, and followed by the value what you want to access, right? So in such a way that it has to be defined. Let's take the example, right? Data equal to curly braces 1. 1 is nothing but the key value, right? That is not acting as an index to access ROMs, right? So here 1 is nothing but the key value, followed by the colon, and followed by the value you want to access. Next one, comma. Next one, next data set is 2. It has to be separated with colon, followed by Shiva is the value you want to access using the key called 2, right? And there is no necessity that the next key value should be 3, right? There is no necessity. Each key value can be defined by the user itself, right? So which means Rams is the value that is going to be accessed using the key value 1. Shiva is the value that is going to be accessed using the key value 2. Raju is the value that is going to be accessed with the help of key value 5. And Shivani is the Shivan is the value that is going to be accessed using the key value 9. So here indexing is permitted. Look at, if I try to print data of 1, it prints Rams, and if I try to print data of 5, it prints Raju. Data of 3, it prints error. Since 3 is the key value that doesn't have any value in the dictionary data, right? So dictionary, right? Current dictionary, data dictionary, right? Let's see some examples here. Okay. Data, I'm defining string, second key value, let's take I'm giving 5 as the next key value. Okay, so let's close this dictionary, and if I try to let's take I'm printing data alone, just entire data. It will print the entire information what is there in the dictionary. And if I print the type of data, it is a dictionary data type. And if I print data of 1, so it will print Rams, right? And if I print data of 5, so it will based on the search key value, that is key value what you have given for each data, each value. So it takes that respective value, right? If I print data of 5, it takes event. And if I try to access data of 3, we haven't defined any value for 3 index, so it will show some error, right? So because 3 index doesn't have any value in this, right? Look at name, and let's go for let's go for another simple example. Let's take here the merging can be done, right? So name equal to, let's go for here example, and I have Ram, I have set of names and I have set of ages. Let's go for Shiva and Raju. So here I have a list, and I have another list called age, right? So here both are list, right? And I'm going to merge two dictionary data type, right? So I have two lists. One is a name list, another one is a age list, right? And I'm going to club these two, right? So using dictionary data structure, right? So dict is a keyword, right? And zip is a command that is used for performing some iterations, right? So which means that their RAM can be merged with 33, Shiva can be merged with 34, Raju can be merged with 56. Each will be each will be combined with, so it's a iteration, right? So you can see that a zip object yielding tuples until a input is exhausted, right? It's a iteratable data type. Zip is a iteratable function, right? So here I need to give that name comma age. Here name will act as a key value and age will be printed here. Age will be the value for that, right? So if I give that, so look at, if I print data here, look at, so each value will be mapped to the respective age, right? So Ram is mapped to 33, Shiva is mapped to 34, and Raju is mapped to 56, right? Using that name, if for example if I want to print data of Ram is okay. Yes, it prints 33. So that is what this name will act as a search key value, right? Ram, Shiva. To know the age, I need to supply that name as the, so here name will act as a search parameter, right? Search key value. So this is how dictionary data structure works, right? So let's see rest of the things. These are all the basic data type support in case of Python programming. Let's see other data type, that is derived data types of Python programming, maybe in the next class. Thank you.